Hey everyone, welcome back. Hope you guys are having a great Tuesday. Thank you so much for coming in to watch this video. And in this video, we're going to talk about a couple of things. Obviously, what happened today with the miners and Bitcoin on the market side of things. Bitcoin was kind of down a little bit today. Miners were actually kind of mixed today. So we'll take a look at that. And then we have news from Bit Digital, Hive Digital, and Marathon Digital as well. So we got quite a few things to cover. There's a lot of good news here for Marathon as well. We'll get into all of that and we'll call it a day. So it should be pretty easy. Chapter's going to be down below for you guys to get into the ones that you want to see. And as always, you guys know the drill here. This is not financial advice for entertainment only. Please do your own research. And I'm investing in the following coins and companies for full disclosure. And for full disclosure, I did buy another 500 shares of Bitfarms today at $2.85. So that continues with my dollar cost averaging that I've always done. And let's get into the markets here. So looking at the markets here right now, we can see that Bitcoin was down today a little bit. Wasn't down too bad. It did spike during the day here in the early hours, but then it kind of came back and kind of retreated a little bit. So it was down 0.9% on the day, closed at 42,266, so it wasn't too bad. The RSI is still looking pretty good on the daily. It's pretty flat right now from the bottom where we were at right here, which was at 41,234. We closed at 42,200 something. And the RSI is still, the RSI is still flat, but the price is going up. So that's a good sign there. I still think we might get the pullback down to around 39,000 mark, which is the gap on the CME futures between 39,000 and 40,500. Okay, but that might take another couple of days, a week or so, possibly before we get the spot Bitcoin ETF approval, which should come sometime in the beginning month of January. So we'll see if that happens, okay? But Bitcoin's up a little bit here now on the new day, which is good. And then we can see here that Annie obviously had a huge day today, obviously, again, for no real reason as to why. I think it's just being bought up because the miners are going up, and we're having some transition from some of the miners that have already gone up 100% plus more within the last 12 weeks. And we're getting a little transition into other miners that have been beaten down. So this could be part of the process here. But Annie was up 24% today for really no reason. Argo was up 5.29%. Bit Digital was up barely 0.61%. BitDeer was up 0.64% today. Bitfarms was down a little bit, 4.79%. Cypher was up again today quite a bit, up 14.33%. CleanSpark was down 3.78%. Cores was up 7.28% today. It was up at a high of $1.14. So that's obviously good news for all the investors that are in there with the Chapter 11 bankruptcy still going on. DigiHost was up a little bit here, 5.92%. DMG was down 4.08%. Greenidge was down 0.2%. Hive was down 0.78%. Hot was down 0.49%. Iris Energy was down 4.67%. Marathon was up nicely today, 10.51%. It hit a new high here of $22.49. This is a new 52-week high for them, I believe, if we look at the chart here this way. Yeah, so they, today and yesterday, it looks like they went over their 52-week high here, which is nice to see. So that gets them in with Bitfarms, CleanSpark that have already beaten their 52-week highs. Marathon's in that boat now as well. Okay, so that's great news. We'll talk about the news that they provided here today. Mawson was up today, 17.74% also. They reported, I'm not going to cover it, but they reported they got another co-location hosting provider or company to host with them. So that was good news for them. Riot was up just a little bit here, 1.71. Soluna was up 3.21. Stronghold was up barely 0.17. And Wolf was up 9.39%. Also a pretty good day for them as well. So that's kind of how things played out. And let's get into our news stories that we do have here. So first one's going to be on Bit Digital. They're just announcing here that there has been no disruptions in operations in Iceland. Obviously, we have the volcano erupting there. So Bit Digital announced today that there has thus far been no adverse impact to its operations in Iceland following the volcano eruption on Reykjanes Peninsula. The company continues to monitor the potential outcomes related to ongoing seismic activity in the country, but at this point, experts expects no material impact to either its Bitcoin mining operations or AI infrastructure business in Iceland. So that's good news there, okay? That's all we really have here for them. Hive is going to be next. So Hive Digital announces 25 million bought deal private placement financing to HODL, our Bitcoin production, and expand green mining footprint by 100 megawatts. So this is actually a pretty good deal. Good news here as well. The funny thing is it's not for distribution to the United States, Newswire Services, or for dissemination in the United States. Yet, here we go. We still got it anyways. I think that they're doing this possibly through the Canadian Stock Exchange, not through the United States. So the shares going to be affected over there, I guess, on that one. Okay, but here's what we have. So Hive has entered into an agreement with Stifel Canada and Canaccord Genuity as co-lead underwriters and joint book runners, whereby the underwriters will purchase on a bought deal basis 5,000 special warrants of the company at a price of $5 per share, or a special warrant for aggregate gross proceeds to the company of $25 million, the offering. Okay. And down here, we get a little bit more details that talk about each special warrants, what they get, things like that. They can also purchase up to 15% more. Down here, here's the important part of it. So the company anticipates the net proceeds of the offering will be used to support the growth of its business, including the expansion of data centers to utilize an additional 100 megawatts of green energy to add approximately 5 exahash to Hive's existing green Bitcoin mining footprint. So that's great news there. And then as well as for working capital and general corporate purposes, so that's fine there. Hive also anticipates being able to HODL all its Bitcoin until the upcoming halving, which is only now roughly 4 months away, roughly. So you got January, February, March, and sometime in April. So you really have only like 3.5 months, well, 4 if you count the rest of this month as well. They're going to HODL until that time frame. Okay, I'm okay with the growth part of things, but as you guys know, if you've listened to me here long enough, you'll know that I'm not a big fan of dilution in order just to HODL. So, but it's only for a couple months. I'm okay with that. But if they were to HODL for anything longer than 6 months, I would be not happy with it. Okay. But this is obviously good news for them. The 5 exahash at 100 megawatts, that seems kind of low that they're going to grow that. They could possibly grow that beyond that. But the current path is obviously to grow 5 exahash beyond what they are currently at. So if we look at Hive right now, what we have for them on the sheet here, we can see here that they are currently supposed to get to 5.5. And if they grow beyond an additional 5 exahash on top of that, that would get them to about 10.5. So that would be actually really good. That would be fantastic, because let's see, what do we have them here for right now? Yeah, future hash rate 5.5. So that would be fantastic. They would get them to about 10 exahash. So they would be in line with like Iris Energy, which is going to get to 10 exahash as well. And potentially others that are going that way as well. Cypher is another one of those. Bitfarms is going to be above that. Obviously, CleanSpark is going to be at 20. Marathon's going to be like at 30, something like that, possibly going even more. We'll talk about Marathon here next, but this is great news. This is what we wanted to see. Better late than never, but it is happening. So hopefully they can build out relatively quickly and install the 5 exahash as quickly as possible. And that goes for all the miners here. Okay, so that's it for Hive. Yeah, that is it. Let's go to the next one. So this one's going to be a little bit longer here. There's a lot more details to go over. So Marathon Digital Holdings enters definitive agreement to acquire multiple Bitcoin mining sites for $179 million. And this was definitely very interesting news. One of the things that I've said on Twitter and other places that, Marathon's looking for places to put the new miners that they're going to be possibly purchasing. We had heard that they had contracts for buying miners, but nothing was really concrete. Now we actually have some more concrete news on that, so that's great news there. But one of the things I said was they're looking for places to put the machines at. They're pretty much filled out completely as they are already with the current hosting providers that they're using. And they're going to have to find more, which is going to be tough, or they're going to have to possibly buy their own facilities or build out their own facilities. And, well, they're kind of buying out facilities that they can utilize for their own stuff. But we got a lot of details to go through here. So let's get into it here. So Marathon has entered into a definitive purchase agreement to acquire 2 currently operational Bitcoin mining sites totaling 390 megawatts of capacity from subsidiaries of Generate Capital, PBC, for a total of $178.6 million or $458,000 per megawatt to be paid in cash from Marathon's balance sheet. So they're not diluting here. They're going to use what they have, which is a good deal, obviously, for the investors in the company, shareholders. And obviously the investors liked it today because the stock was up nicely today as well. Okay. The stock was up nicely yesterday as well, so maybe there was a little front running on that potential news release here today. Okay, this transaction represents Marathon's first fully owned sites and marks the company's official transition from an asset-light organization to one that manages a diversified and resilient portfolio of Bitcoin mining operations. So that's great, but I don't know if it's their first fully owned site. Wasn't the site in Hardin, Montana? Wasn't that one that they also owned that was fully owned? I could be wrong on that one, but I thought that was also fully owned there. And then currently Marathon's Bitcoin mining portfolio consists of 584 megawatts of capacity. This is mostly through hosting providers. They do own 3% of which, that's what they state here, 3% of which resides in sites that are owned and or operated by the company. And then 97% of which is hosted by third parties. So like I said, they have a lot of machines out there, but they're mostly hosted with third parties. Okay. Following the close of this transaction, Marathon's Bitcoin mining portfolio will consist of approximately 910 megawatts of capacity. So that's huge there. That's a huge increase for them. Going down here, in addition, the expansion opportunities at these sites substantially increase Marathon's Bitcoin mining pipeline and provide the company with potential to double its current operational hash rate to approximately 50 exahashes of total operating capacity over the next 18 to 24 months. So that is also great news. But there are some caveats to this because the facilities do have some customers that are currently utilizing hosting there. Okay, so here's what we have on that part of it. Things I think they go down in the details in here. So Marathon will take ownership of approximately 390 megawatts of operational capacity, 82 megawatts, so 21% of that, which are currently vacant and available for immediate expansion. So that's great news there. They can plug in miners that they're purchasing there. 244 megawatts, 63% of which are currently occupied by other Bitcoin mining tenants. So I listened to the conference call today because they provided that as well on this news. In there, one of the analysts asked Fred Thiel on the potential, what's the timeline for basically contracts ending and how soon are they ending? Fred was unable to answer that, stating that it's a little too early to note that. I guess once they maybe close on this transaction, sometime in January possibly, they'll be able to provide more details as far as when some of those contracts might be ending. So that's obviously going to be important for them to grow out further in the next 18 to 24 months or so. Okay. And then 64 megawatts, 16% of which are already occupied by Marathon and ripe for operational optimizations through energy hedging and other means. So this is the portion that they have miners already installed there. This is going to be good for them because this will lower their costs overall. So instead of them paying the hosting company 7 cents or whatever it is, they might be only paying at that point 4.5, 4 cents, 5 cents, whatever it might be for electricity at that point, plus any overhead that they might have for operations on that side of things. But that's going to be minimal compared to what they're paying now. Okay, so this is also really good news here. The transaction is expected to reduce cost per coin on Marathon's current operations at these sites by approximately 30%. So, right, so that's kind of what I said here, going from like 7 cents to like 4.5, 5 cents, something like that. On the electrical cost side of things, which was going to be really good for them. In near term, the company intends to fill the 82 megawatts of capacity currently available at the sites with its own miners, so that's great. Hosting clients currently occupy 244 megawatts of capacity, and these existing hosting clients, as these existing hosting clients depart the sites, the company intends to use available capacity for its own miners to further increase its hash rate and maximize operational efficiencies. So, like I spoke just a minute ago, they will find out maybe in some due time as far as when these hosting partners or hosting customers will be vacated out, basically. And hopefully that's within the next 18 to 24 months. If not sooner, that'd be even better because right now we're heading into the bull run and you want to get as much in as you can, obviously, before we hit the peak of the bull run, right? And kind of like we might be at the peak of the bull run if it's historically accurate from last cycles, right around sometime in 2025, maybe like the end of the first half, something like that. We might peak that. So this would be kind of coinciding with that time frame as well. All right, and then lastly here, Marathon currently has 8 exahash of miners on order, the first tranche of which is set to be delivered and installed in January 2024. So this is good news here as well. Previously, they've stated they have under contract or not under contract, what was it? They have, that was another term that they used for, but it was basically pretty vague. It's like, did you actually buy them or did you actually have them? So now that we know that they actually got this, I updated my spreadsheet for this. They're still pretty vague on this. When I was listening to the conference call again this morning, one of the analysts also asked, can you provide some information on the 7 exahash of miners? You know, what's their hash rate? How many are you buying? What's the cost on those? Basically price, tag on them, watts, things like that. And Frank was kind of vague on it as well. He said they'll provide more information on that in the coming weeks, I guess he said, something like that to that effect, okay? So that was also disappointing there. It's like, you're buying these miners, you should know what you're getting, and you know what you should be paying for. They did say it's going to be a mix, potentially. So we could see some of the Auradine miners in there, which they are obviously invested in that company as well. We may see some Bitminers in there, Bitmain in there as well as maybe some What's miners possibly as well. We'll have to see. I don't know what that is, so I'm using kind of generic numbers for it right now until we actually get some definitive numbers for them, okay? We'll take a look at that here shortly. And I think that is it. So all in all, this is really good and something that they really needed to do in order to grow out past where they are right now, because trying to find hosting providers for the growth that they're looking for is going to be tough, right? We're seeing miners like Riot potentially get to 100 exahash goal in the next, God knows when that's going to be, but that's possibly what they're looking for. They have their own facilities. They can build out and plan for that, whereas Marathon was using mostly hosting, so it's kind of hard to do that. You're relying on the hosting providers to build out their infrastructure in order for you to put your miners into it. So I think this is a really great move by them, and long overdue, I think, also. So I think they learned a lesson a little bit here. They obviously were very asset light in the beginning, but they noticed that there are some drawbacks to it. You're not in control of your own destiny, basically. You're at the mercy of others at this point, okay? So all in all, this is good. And then this is the presentation that they had slide from this morning from the presentation. And you guys can take a look at this. I'm not going to go over it too much. That's obviously cements their path to 50 exahash over the next 18 to 24 months. So that's good there. We'll have to see how fast they can execute on this, how soon the customers that are in there right now, how soon they'll get out and they can get their own miners in. That'll be interesting to see as well. Financial highlights, proposed transaction, key terms, all that is in here. Diversified portfolio. What else do we have here? Strategic intent, incentives, initiatives, significantly grow power capacity and ownership, which is true. So this is good. This is a pre-purchase, and this is their after purchase. So obviously a lot better looking here. And then what else do we have here? Locations. So they have locations obviously in North Dakota, 2 locations in North Dakota, 1 in Nebraska. Looks like they got a couple in Texas here, 3 of them. Abu Dhabi is a joint venture where they have 20% stake in that. And then Paraguay, I looked it up, but I think they have more than 50% stake in that, which should get reported as actual revenue on that facility there. Okay. And then we have their financial attractive transactions and all that good stuff here. And that is it here for them. So if you look at the numbers that I have for Marathon here really quick, we won't make it too long, but I have them at 30.3 exahash future hash rate with the 7 exahash being added here. I did get rid of some miners because I was just getting a weird number of 24.42 or something like that exahash where their future was going to be. So I think some of the older miners, well, they're not really that old, but they were maybe gotten rid of or they were sold. Don't know. It's kind of hard with some of these companies to provide the full details on it. So we're going by what they're actually reporting here. Currently, they're at 23.3, possibly even higher than that right now. I think on the slide somewhere they said maybe they were at 23.7, I think, on that one, if I'm not mistaken. I'll take a look at it. But once we get the monthly report for December, we'll get this updated as well. Okay, so right now they are at $21.97, right? Having between $15.71 to $23.57 currently based on the last 3 quarters in the current quarter that we're in. Obviously, they're going to have a lot more revenue here in December because of the Bitcoin transaction fees. That's going to pump them up because right now I have them at approximately 42 million. And based on my calculation from yesterday's video, I had them at like 64 million in revenue. So that's definitely going to bump them up there. And this might still show that they might be fairly valued to slightly undervalued, okay, based on that information. But based on the growth and everything else, I think they're well valued right now, maybe a little bit of value from where they should be. And then especially as we get into the bull run, they can definitely do a heck of a lot better going forward. So this is fantastic. Okay. Going down here on the miner side of things. So like I said, I don't know which miners they're getting or how many of them, what their hash rate is. I'm guessing somewhere between 195 terahash per miner. I don't know what that number is going to be, but that got us to 35,100 miners and that got us to 7 exahash additional there. So on the wattage side of things, I don't know what those are going to be. I have them at 3450. Could be higher, could be less. We'll have to wait until we actually get the details for it. So my overall fleet efficiency here is going to be off a little bit until we get some better numbers from them. Okay, but right now, if they fully install everything, they're going to be about 22.48 joules per terahash on average if all things work out that way. Now, I did get rid of some of the miners here and brought in some of the newer miners in December here. We'll update this more once we get the December numbers in January. But I did take out the 100 terahash miners here, took that out. And I think that was the only one that I took out of this, yeah, because these weren't already in here. So then when I did the math here, I subtracted these two, so that's then being included for all of these. So then we're getting good numbers along with our numbers for these as well. Those are being removed as well. Okay, so that is it. Overall, let me know what you guys think of this, but this was obviously good news story from Marathon. And I'm sure a lot of people are going to be happy about it. I'm happy about it too, because they're actually growing and doing the right things, getting their own sites, which is, I think, a good path going forward, especially if they want to build out and possibly those sites as well. They may have the opportunity to do that. We'll have to find out if that actually happens. But overall, really good news here. So stock obviously did good today, and it's because of the news that came out. So we're in good times. We're getting close to the end of the year. We're getting close to the halving event. We got the spot Bitcoin ETF happening here shortly as well, possibly within the next 2 to 3 weeks or so. That's a lot of good news that we're having with the miners, Bitcoin itself in general. So I'm really excited what's going to happen in 2024 and going into even 2025. If we do get a nice rally here, the miners still could possibly go 10x from where they are right now, depending on where we go. Okay, but it's all depending on where Bitcoin goes, the network hash rate, where that goes, everything else kind of ties into it as well. Okay, so stay tuned for those videos. We'll do a bunch of videos, obviously, when everything happens here. So subscribe, helps me out. Okay, but otherwise, spreadsheet is going to be available to my Patreon members as always. Link is down in the description for that. That's $5 a month. You get 10% off if you pay for the annual fee. And we have a private Discord channel server that we utilize there for all the members. And a lot of times I'll provide all this information a little bit earlier to the members there as well. Okay, so that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe. Helps me out tremendously. And we'll see what happens tomorrow. It's been a fun week so far. All right, see you in the next one. Until then,